There are two basic forms in Wing Chun Do that are important for just contributing to the kind of techniques we do. The second one is the Sil Lim Tao. Now, Bruce really liked this form because it gave not only him, but he felt the students an opportunity to practice on their own at home and work with stretching, flow, and power. So that is the three different applications of the Sil Lim Tao. We're going to show you all three. First, we'll have Bu go through the Sil Lim Tao itself as one flowing action, and the first one will be for stretching. There are specific things that are done that must be done in a certain way, so we'll go through those. Also, you maintain center line through the whole thing, just as you do in the Ging Lai. And also, you'll find that most or 99% of the effort is in the upper torso, which is the arms. So, although in the original Sil Lim Tao we used to do Mabo or horse position, which meant we squatted low to the ground, Bruce found that most Westerners could not do this very easy because of their lack of strength in the legs relative to the weight of their body. So they very quickly, just burned out. So instead of doing the Mabo, which we'll show you what that is, we were able then to stand in a more comfortable position where our legs were spread out and we maybe squatted a little bit, but we didn't go down into the full horse position. But first we'll have Bu go through the Sil Lim Tao in its entirety. Now you notice there's a little squat, but some people will go down much further as they work to strengthen their legs. Some will be up straighter because they find even with a small squat before the Sil Lim Tao is done, they become very tired in the legs and start to cramp up. It's really up to you. The main thing we're after is the proper application of the arms in the upper torso and going through the specific moves that allow the stretch to happen. This is a stretching form in the first set, and so therefore there are certain things we're really looking for that will really directly contribute to trapping later on. Long-range trapping, it doesn't matter, even medium to a certain degree, but the very close-in trapping, it's very important to have the wrist flexibility especially that appears in the kind of trapping that we do. The breathing when you're doing the stretching can be sort of at your own leisure. In other words, some people breathe in on extension, out on extension. It doesn't really matter as much as it's consistent. And try not to tense up during the course of this exercise since it is a stretch. Any unnecessary tension will cause the sort of an imbalance in the muscles that we don't want. We want loose muscles that are going to expand, become elastic and spontaneous. This is a very simple form, but it's just in order to get benefits from it, you need to be able to do it correctly. There are actually one section of the Sil Lim Tao is repetitious. In other words, you always repeat from one side to the other, right to left, but then there's a sequence that is repeated. We call it the triple. And this is where you're going to really work more with the stretching of the shoulder and the wrist stretch. So this was emphasized twice rather than just once. You can see this triple is a repeat of the earlier triple with the hands coming into the middle and rotating, going back towards the chest. That's 3 moves. The rotation is done 3 times before it goes across the chest and out. Okay, good. As you'll notice, it was one flowing stream, but there is a slight hesitation sometimes between the moves so that you get the maximum amount of stretch. You don't stop and hold the position, but it isn't fluid from one, like one long stringing technique, so that you really emphasize the stretch. And again, this is something that when you're first doing it, take your time, learn each step. Now we're going to go through the actual moves themselves so that you can understand that each one should be practiced independently well enough so you understand exactly what is required of that move, and then add the next move, and so on until you're finished. Just move slightly. Good. All right. Now, since you know that, just do the footwork, toes, come up bring your heels together. Now, this is the starting position of the feet. Now, we're just going to do this again to re-emphasize the beginning position. So you're going to go toes, heels, and then you sit. All right? Now, this is the beginning position in which you will start and stay in if you so desire. But because we're doing a DVD and it takes a little more time, I'm going to have Boo stand up and then go out into a comfortable position, which to him is something that he can stay in during the course of this. Now you notice when he came up, he brought his arms up into the ginglai position, which was in the floating rib. This is important to start bringing the elbows back together. All right. So he's going to go through the first movement. Now notice that there's an X, and this X is out about 45 degrees away from the body, and you're going to find an interesting little feeling here. Your left arm over the top of the right should feel a little longer than the right. You're going through the middle of the forearm, notice, and you definitely will have a feeling of the left arm being longer. And this means that you are actually having a fairly good X. If it's shorter, pull it up a little bit. See that? A lot of times that feels okay, but as you can see, it's imbalanced. All right, go back into the full X. Now the next move will be to bring it up so that your arms are vertical in front of you with your fingers about eye level. Elbows are up, and if you'll notice, they're out about shoulder width. Okay, then you're going to go back into the ginglai position. Next will be a chung choi, or a striking out to the height and center of the nose-mouth area, vertical fist, where the arm fully extends. Then you will open the hand, and you will make a very, very tight rotation so that your hand is strained through the whole process itself. Then it'll go into a fist as it goes back into the ginglai position. Then your right hand will do it. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed won't matter. You will do the form with your left hand first, or your left side first, and then your right. Now notice he will now open his hand. He will bring his fingers back towards his wrist, rotate it around in a circle, tight, bringing it up into a vertical position with his fingers parallel. Notice his palm is facing towards his left side. Then as he brings it back, he'll bring it back in a fist. Next we'll go into the triple. The triple will be a important part of exercise, because notice as his arm comes out, his elbow really pushes into the center line. This really tugs at his shoulder. Your forearm will be sort of parallel to the ground, hand open, keeping your elbow in. You're going to rotate your hand around in a very tight circle, keeping your elbow in at all times, tight, and then it's going to go vertical, palm facing now the right side, and it's going to travel back towards you, directly back towards you, till about 1 or 2 inches from the body. Now as you did this, your elbow dropped out, your hand is going to drop down where your fingers are trying to touch your wrist is on the center line, you're going to come out, notice how the elbow drops back in very tight, and you only go out as far as you can keep the elbow in. In other words, don't straighten your arm. Keep your elbow in so you feel the strain of the elbow trying to stay towards the center line. Now, rotating around. Okay, again. One more time. You'll do this 3 times. Rotating around. Then you will cross over as far as you can reach. Notice Boo keeps his body square, and he reaches as far as he can with his fingers up, hitting with his palm about shoulder height, bringing it back to center. Then he extends it out as if he's striking with his palm about mouth to nose height. Then he will turn his hand over and do the tight rotation, which is known as Fuk Sao, round to Guang Sao, Pak Sao, and then back. Now the right hand will repeat the exercise. It will come out slow, bringing in the elbow, keeping the wrist about the center line. Nice tight rotation, full rotation, back towards the body, about 1 or 2 inches. The elbow comes in as you go out with the wrist, rotating around. Nice tight rotation again, no slack, back towards the body. Out once more, elbow in, good. Rotating around tight, keeping the wrist towards the center line. Coming back, crossing over to the side, back to center, out in front of the mouth. Turn the hand over, nice tight rotation. Good, back in the Ginglai position. Now the left hand will go down as if you're pushing something down. Notice how the fingers are raised. The right hand will go down. Both hands will come up high into the armpit area, and then they're going to push backwards, trying to almost touch one another. Now turn sideways, Boo, so we can see that. Notice how the fingers are lifted up so that there's tension and the hands are pulled towards one another. Okay, face me. Okay, and then they're going to come up front. Back down. Now this is in front. Notice the hands are not touching. The fingers are raised. Then you're going to go forward as if you are striking, the parallel to the arms. It's like creating a rectangle so that your left hand is over your right. You'll fully extend the arms out, bringing them back to whereas the right is over the left. So the first one is left over right, second one is right over left. Then they will fold down where the palms are facing one another and the fingers are pointing up as much as possible. Notice how the palms are facing. Now you will do the double Byuji or double thrust to the eyes. You will drop it back down into that original position, and you will now thrust with both wrists as if you're striking with the wrist. Both strikes will be up about cheek high area. Then you will come back into the Ginglai position. Next move is going to be the crossover, back to center. Now notice his hand is turned to the side now, not vertical. Then he will straighten his palm out. He will do the tight rotation. This is a very important part of the exercise. Tight, 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 tight all the way through. Then he will bring it back. The right hand always leads, then the left hand will repeat. Back to center, side palm. Straighten out, palm to the ceiling, nice tight rotation, rotation, rotation. Don't bring the wrist out. Keep the wrist into the center and bring it back to the Ginglai position. Okay, next, going to go out into a Tan Sao or extended position with your elbow in. You're going to sweep down into a Guang Sao position, a sweeping action like you're sweeping something coming into the abdominal area. You're going to come back into that original flat Tan Sao position with your elbow in. Going to make a nice tight rotation halfway around, and you're going to strike with the palm to the side just as before. Straighten it out. Nice tight rotation. And back into the Ginglai position and repeat that with the right. So it comes out, elbow in tight, wrist on the center line, Guang Sao sweeping down, coming back up, rotating around halfway or 3/4. Notice the palm is sticking out to the side, hitting with the heel palm. Straighten it out, nice tight rotation. And back to the Ginglai position. Next will be the Bang Sao type of motion where you rotate the arm over. Notice the hand is on the center line. Elbow is slightly below the height of the hand. You'll drop down into the center. You will hit with the heel palm. But notice how the fingers drop down and you hit as if you're raising the heel palm. Then straighten the hand. Nice tight rotation. All the way around. Coming back into a fist and repeating the technique with the right hand. Bang Sao. Dropping it down into Tan Sao. Keep that elbow in. Heel palm up. Opening the hand, nice rotation, tight rotation. Now you're going to repeat the triple. So just watch the action again. This is where the elbow comes in, nice and tight, keeping the wrist on the center line, underlining again the tight rotation, coming back into the Fuk Sao, going around Guang Sao, up into Pak Sao. It's very important because this is a very important technique for stretching the wrist, for running the hand and doing tight traps in close range. Bruce was very adamant about the flexibility of the wrist, and he felt the much larger, stronger Westerners would have a lot of trouble with this because they had such thick wrists compared to his. He was only 135 pounds, 5'7". So we had to really work hard in order to stretch our wrist. But it really paid off, and we used to do a lot of the Sil Lim Tao because it was the one exercise that we could do on our own and really work the various elements important for trapping later on. You notice he's concentrating on keeping the elbow in, nice tight wrist rotation. All right, these last 10 moves we'll go through slowly. Number 1, the left will go across. Notice how it crosses the body. It's out about a 45 degree, and the right hand, is up in the cradle of the arm with the palm facing up. Now very slowly, Boo, I want you to come down and twist, showing that you're stripping off somebody grabbing. As if somebody is grabbing your wrist right there. Now imagine somebody's grabbing that right wrist and you're going to strip them off. So you turn your right hand over at the same time stripping it. Okay? So this is the action, and it's done very deliberately. The palms should not go over one another. Notice how Boo brings his arm back across so that he has good angle to sweep. Okay? Go back into the Ging Lai position. So we're going to go through a count. There's a 10 count, and there'll be 5 in which there's sweep, and then 6 will be a strike, and the strike will start off about the lower stomach area, and each punch will climb so that the last strike is about the mouth nose area. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice how his right arm now went back into a punching position with his elbow by his side and his hand ready to strike forward. Now as he strikes, he's going to pull his left hand back into elbow position. Now notice how low he's punching. 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice how 10 is at the height of the mouth and the nose, and he brings the other hand back into the Ging Lai position. He will open that hand. He will rotate it around nice and tight. He will bring it back into a Ging Lai position, and he will push back down both hands as he stands up. And that is the complete Sil Lim Tao. So take your time, review the DVD for each move, practice it, slowly put it together till you can do the whole thing.